The stars outside the shuttle windows burned cold and distant. Commander Liana Cross sat in silence as her ship approached Nexus Prime, the massive space station that housed the Galaxy Council. It spun slowly above a dying red star, its steel hull gleaming like a blade in the dark. The Council only called emergency meetings for one reason: crisis. And today Liana knew humanity was at the center of it. She adjusted her uniform, brushed a hand over her silver badge, and took a deep breath. Her orders from Earth were clear: speak calmly, protect the planet's interests, and avoid looking weak. But nothing in her training had prepared her for what she was walking into. The docking bay of Nexus Prime opened like the jaws of a beast. Liana stepped out and was met by Council guards, tall blue-skinned Velari twins with glowing eyes. They said nothing, only motioned her forward. She followed them down long, bright halls lined with banners of 100 worlds. The air smelled sterile, but beneath it she caught the tension, tight, like stretched wire. Inside the council chamber, everything felt colder. The room was round, with high ceilings and pulsing lights that dimmed every few seconds. Representatives from over 40 alien civilizations sat at curved desks, murmuring in different tongues. The center seat, carved from obsidian, belonged to the High Speaker, a silent observer who only voted when the council was deadlocked. Liana took her seat, the only human among them. Then the screen lit up. A rotating image of a destroyed trade ship spun slowly in the air above the chamber. Its hull was torn open. Bodies floated in the wreckage. The merchant cruiser Zerane 5, destroyed en route from Valar to Oranis, said the High Speaker, their voice deep and emotionless. All 43 crew members lost. Black box data suggests the attackers used Earth-made plasma torpedoes. The murmuring turned to shouting. Liana stood, her voice steady. We deny all involvement. Earth has no record of any fleet in that sector. We request a full investigation before judgment is passed. From the far side of the chamber, a tall figure rose. His black armor caught the light like polished stone. Commander Cross, said High Warden Vrax, your people always ask for time. But time has cost lives. Again and again, humanity hides behind excuses. This was not an accident. This was an act of war. A sharp hiss followed his words. Some council members nodded in agreement. Liana didn't flinch. And you have no solid proof. Plasma torpedoes are used by many races. Faking Earth's weapon signature would not be difficult. Vrax slammed his hand against the table. So you blame another race? How convenient. I blame no one, Liana replied. But I will not let Earth be condemned without facts. The High Speaker raised a hand. Silence fell. You have 24 hours, they said. Present evidence, or face a vote of war. The session ended. The room emptied. Liana remained seated, her hands clenched tight in her lap. She felt the weight of every human life pressing on her shoulders. Earth was on the edge of its first interstellar war, and she was the last line of defense. Commander Liana Cross stared at the quiet stars outside her guest quarters on Nexus Prime. The silence in space used to calm her. Now it felt heavy, too quiet, like the moment before a storm breaks. She stood alone, arms crossed, thoughts circling like a ship without a beacon. The Council had given her 24 hours to prove Earth's innocence. She had no evidence, no leads, and little trust in the room. High Warden Vrax had made his position clear. He wanted war, and he had already begun turning the other council members against her. A soft chime echoed through her room. Secure message received, the AI voice said. She moved to the screen on the far wall. The message flashed in red, encrypted, top-level priority, Earth Command. She entered her code. A video loaded, and the face of General Elias Monroe appeared. His square jaw was tight. His voice, when it came, was sharp and measured. Commander Cross, Council tensions are higher than expected. We can't risk appearing weak. If they vote for war, we will respond with force. Do not let them corner you. Defend Earth's image. Use every tool you have. Understood. The message ended. No room for peace, no call for calm, just strength and survival. Liana stared at the blank screen for a long time. She had served Earth's military for 15 years. She believed in loyalty, but this was something else. Earth was preparing for a fight, and she was expected to be the spark if the Council turned against them. The door chimed again. This time it wasn't digital. Liana opened the door to find a young man with pale skin and silver eyes. He wore the grey uniform of a Nexus Prime technician. "Ambassador Cross?" he asked, voice low. "I'm Kal-El. I work in data systems. I have something you should see." Liana hesitated. "Is this official?" "No," Kal-El said. "That's why I came to you directly. I don't trust Warden Vrax. You shouldn't either." She stepped aside. "Come in." Kal-El moved quickly to her terminal, pulled a small device from his jacket, and connected it. "I monitor internal security feeds," he explained, "and someone wiped a large portion of data from the ship that was attacked. Zareen 5. But before it was deleted, I made a backup. It's not complete, but it might show something." Liana leaned over the screen as he loaded the file. The image was fuzzy, partial camera footage from the trade ship just minutes before the explosion. They watched as a dark, fast-moving ship came into view. It didn't match any known Earth model. It was sleeker, more aggressive, and carried no known insignia, but the plasma torpedoes it fired left a trail with an Earth-style signature. Kal-El paused the video. "That torpedo path was tampered with," he said. "Someone tried to make it look like your weapons, but the algorithm is off, almost like it was forged." Liana's pulse quickened. "Can you prove that?" "Maybe, but I need more time, and access to restricted Council archives." Liana gave a tired breath. "That's going to be hard to get." "Then find someone who can. You only have one day." As Kal-El disconnected the device, Liana heard footsteps outside, heavy and slow. She moved to the door and opened it just as High Warden Vrax stepped into view. He looked at her, eyes cold and unblinking. "I hope your evening is restful, Commander," he said calmly. "Tomorrow will be intense." "I'll be ready," Liana replied. "Good," he said. "Because Earth's place in this galaxy is hanging by a thread, and threads, as you know, break easily." He turned and walked away without another word. Liana closed the door and turned back to Kal-El. "We have to move fast," she said. "Yes," Kal-El nodded, "because if Vrax finds out what we're doing, he won't wait for a vote." The screen dimmed. Outside, the stars kept shining, uncaring and distant. But inside Nexus Prime, the pressure was building. The war wasn't tomorrow. It had already begun. Commander Liana Cross moved quickly through the dim corridors of Nexus Prime. The artificial lights above her flickered, as if even the station itself felt the weight of what was coming. Her boots echoed off the steel floors, the sound sharp in the silence of the late hour. Beside her walked Kal, quiet and focused. He carried a small datapad and constantly glanced over his shoulder, nervous. "The restricted archives are in Sector 9, Kal whispered. "But we can't request access through official channels. Vrax has too many eyes." "And if we're caught?" Liana asked. Kal hesitated. "You're an ambassador. They'll interrogate you. I'll disappear." Liana didn't respond, but her jaw tightened. She hated sneaking around, hated the feeling of acting like a criminal. But this was the only way. She needed proof, and time was running out. They reached a sealed door marked "Authorized Person Lonely." Kal knelt beside the access panel, tapped a series of commands into his pad, and held his breath. The door hissed open. Inside, the archive room was cold and dark, filled with rows of glowing data cores. Kal moved swiftly between them, fingers flying across his screen. "I'm pulling internal communication logs and ship signature data," he said. "If someone faked the weapon trace on the Zareen 5, the code will be here." Liana stood watch at the door, listening for any sound of footsteps. Her mind raced. She thought about Earth, about the millions of lives depending on her, about the orders from General Monroe, "Respond with force." Was that all humanity knew how to do? A sudden loud beep snapped her back. Cal cursed under his breath. "What is it?" she asked. "Security tripwire. Someone's coming. Did you get the files?" "Most of them, yes. But we need to leave now." They rushed back into the hall just as a pair of security drones turned the corner, metal arms raised. "Halt. Identify yourselves." The drones barked. Liana stepped forward, keeping her voice calm. "Ambassador Cross. I was inspecting the archive for a data irregularity." The drones paused. One scanned her ID badge, the other blinked red. "Ambassador status confirmed. Technician Cal is unauthorized. Awaiting orders." Liana took a slow breath. She couldn't let them detain Cal, not when he had the data they needed. "Technician Cal is working under my authority," she said. "This matter is sensitive. Any delay may interfere with the Council's decision tomorrow. Do you want to explain that to the High Speaker?" The drones paused for 3 long seconds. "Authorization noted," one replied. "You may proceed." They hurried away before the drones could change their minds. Back in Liana's quarters, Cal immediately connected his datapad to her terminal. A stream of code ran down the screen. "It's all here," he said. The torpedo path data on the Zareen 5 was edited. Someone implanted Earth weapon coding into it. Badly. It's sloppy work. Whoever did this was in a rush. Liana leaned in. "Can you trace the source?" Cal nodded slowly. "Partially." The data wrote, "Leads back to a hidden network node, one that doesn't belong to the Council or any known government. Could it be Earth?" Cal shook his head. "No, it's someone else. A third party." A silence fell between them. Who would want to frame Earth and start a galactic war? Liana asked quietly. Cal didn't answer, but the question hung heavy in the air. Later that night, as the station went dark for its rest cycle, Liana sat alone. The pieces didn't make sense yet, but something deeper was at play. Someone wanted to destroy the fragile piece the Galaxy Council had built, and they were using Earth as the match. Just after midnight, a small drone slipped through the air vent above her bed. It made no sound. It hovered for only a second, then dropped a black sharp-edged device the size of a pebble. The bomb activated silently, its timer counting down from 30 seconds. Liana, still seated at her desk, caught the faint hum too late. A blast rocked the room. Smoke filled the air. Alarms blared. A force field dropped to seal off the fire. Cal burst through the door, coughing, eyes wide. "Are you hurt?" Liana stood, bruised but alive. "Someone just tried to kill me." She looked at the damaged remains of her quarters and realized something else. Vrax wasn't just pushing for war. He was making sure there would be no one left to stop it. Smoke still hung in the air the next morning, though the fire was gone and the blast had been contained. A cleaning drone buzzed across the broken floor of Liana's quarters, sweeping up blackened debris. The smell of burnt metal clung to the walls. Commander Liana Cross stood at the edge of the room, a bandage across her temple, her expression hard. She hadn't slept. She couldn't afford to. Someone had planted an explosive in her room meant to kill her, and the Council had said nothing. No security alert, no investigation, no questions. Only silence. Cale paced behind her, visibly shaken. "That wasn't a message," he said. "That was a warning. You were getting too close." Liana nodded slowly, and they didn't want to risk the vote tomorrow. She turned back to her console, where the stolen data blinked on the screen. Streams of code, highlighted paths, corrupted logs, all signs of manipulation. The plasma torpedo signature used in the attack had been faked, designed to frame Earth. The source of the forgery wasn't Earth, wasn't any Council world. It came from a shadow system outside charted space, a place long believed uninhabited. Cale pointed at the data route. "It traces back to a dark network node in the Oran Rift. That sector's been off-limits for decades, abandoned after the mining colonies failed." Liana leaned in. "So whoever did this, they're operating from a dead zone, outside Council control, and still have access to military tech," Cale added. She stepped back, taking it all in. The destroyed trade ship, the forged weapon trail, the push for war, the attempt on her life. It wasn't random. It was a plan. They want chaos, Liana said aloud. Someone out there wants the galaxy divided. And if the Council declares war on Earth tomorrow, they'll get exactly what they want. Kale looked at her. Then we need to stop the vote. Liana exhaled. We will. Later that afternoon, Liana requested a private audience with the High Speaker. The guards outside the chamber hesitated, but eventually let her in. The High Speaker, draped in robes of silver and black, watched her without emotion. You are injured, they said. Perhaps it would be best to return to your world. I'm not leaving, Liana replied. I have proof that the attack on Zerion 5 was not done by Earth. The data has been altered. The weapon trail was forged. The High Speaker's face did not change. And your source? A Council technician. His credentials are verified. He found the backup logs before they were deleted. For a long time the High Speaker said nothing. Then bring your evidence to the chamber tomorrow. If it is sound, the Council will hear it. But be warned, many are already convinced of your guilt. High Warden Vrax has prepared his argument. Liana bowed her head. Thank you. As she left, she passed Vrax in the hallway. The warden stopped. His red eyes narrowed. You should have taken the chance to leave, Commander, he said. Liana met his gaze. You should have aimed better. Vrax's jaw tightened. The Council will decide soon. And when they do, the galaxy will know the truth of your species. She didn't answer. She just walked past him, steady and calm, even as her heart pounded in her chest. That night Kale worked without rest, securing the data, strengthening the encryption, and preparing the files for the Council presentation. Liana memorized every line, every detail. She had one shot to prove Earth's innocence. As the hours passed, the lights of Nexus Prime dimmed. Ships arrived from across the galaxy. Leaders and envoys gathered for the final vote. The war drums were beating louder with every passing minute. In the distance, somewhere beyond known space, a signal pulsed quietly in the dark. A voice, distorted and cold, whispered across the void, "Stage complete. Let them burn themselves." Liana sat alone, eyes fixed on the stars. Tomorrow everything would change. The chamber was full. Representatives from every major world in the galaxy were present. Some stood quietly, some whispered to their aides. Others sat stiff and unreadable. The tension inside the Galaxy Council's Grand Hall felt heavy, like a storm pressing against glass. Above them, a rotating image of the Zerion 5 hovered in the center, a reminder of the attack that had brought them to this point. Today, the vote would be cast. War or peace. Judgment on Earth. Commander Liana Cross stood in the center of the floor, facing the Council. Her uniform was clean but worn, her face pale, a small bandage still covering the cut above her brow. Behind her, Kale stood silently, clutching a secure data unit. At the head of the chamber, the High Speaker rose. This emergency session is now in final proceedings. Earth's representative will address the Council one last time. High Warden Vrax will respond. Then we vote. The room quieted. Liana stepped forward. I stand before you not only as Earth's representative, she began, her voice clear and steady, but as someone who still believes this council was created to prevent war, not to rush into it. A few murmurs rippled through the rows. Liana continued. You were shown evidence that linked Earth's weapons to the attack on Zerion 5. But what you weren't shown is that this evidence was faked. She motioned to Kale. He tapped the device, and a projection filled the air, lines of code, security logs, and time-stamped visuals from the trade ship. This is a backup log recovered from the ship's systems, Liana explained. It shows a different attacker, a ship that doesn't match any Earth design. But someone injected Earth weapon signatures into the data, a forgery meant to make it look like we were responsible. The room began to stir. Kale zoomed into the weapon signature code. This sequence here, it was altered. It's an imitation. The core algorithm is not Earth's. It was created off-grid, in a rogue sector of space, known as the Aran Rift. Impossible, a counselor from the Cyrillan cluster muttered. That sector is uninhabited. It was, Liana said. Not anymore. She paused, letting the silence settle. Then she stepped closer to the Council's core ring. We believe a third party is trying to divide us. If the Council votes for war, you won't just strike Earth. You'll open the door to chaos. You'll do exactly what they want. High Warden Vrax stood sharply, interrupting. Enough. The chamber stilled. Vrax's voice thundered through the hall. This is a distraction. Earth is clever, always twisting the truth. They attack, then speak of peace. They break treaties, then demand patience. He pointed to the still glowing image of the Zirian 5. 43 innocent lives lost. And now their ambassador wants us to believe it was someone else. No names, no faces, just shadows and theories. He turned to the Council. The question is not whether Earth is guilty. The question is whether we wait again, until the next ship explodes. Until the next world burns. Some Council members nodded. Others looked unsure. Liana stepped forward again. You want a name? We have one. We've traced communications to a group calling themselves the Obsidian Accord. They're not from Earth. They're not from any known world. They operate from deep space, outside your reach. They don't want peace. They want war. And we're all playing into their hands. The High Speaker raised a hand. Enough has been said. We will vote now. Liana's heart pounded. She watched as lights lit up across the chamber, green for peace, red for war. The first lights turned red, then 2 green, then more, red, green, green, red. Her fingers dug into her palms, her breath held. Finally the last light blinked. The High Speaker looked at the result, then spoke, slowly and clearly. The motion to declare war on Earth is denied. Gasps filled the room. Liana let out the breath she'd been holding. The High Speaker continued. The Council will investigate the Obsidian Accord. Earth remains under watch, but for now no war will begin. Vrax's eyes blazed with fury, but he said nothing. He turned and walked out without another word. Liana stood still, barely believing it. She had done it. She turned to Kale, who smiled faintly. You just stopped a galactic war, he said. No, Liana replied quietly. We delayed it. Someone still wants this galaxy in flames. As they left the chamber, distant systems blinked in the stars. Somewhere, in a dark part of the universe, unknown ships waited, and they would not stay quiet for long. Nexus Prime was quiet. The chaos and tension of the Council meeting had faded, but the weight of what almost happened still lingered. The halls were less crowded, the voices lower, guards remained at every corner, and some delegates had already left the station, their ships vanishing into the stars without goodbyes. No one celebrated. The vote had avoided war, but it had not restored trust. Inside a private chamber, Commander Liana Cross stood before a wide window, looking out into space. Her reflection stared back, tired, bruised, but standing. Behind her, Cal packed up data drives and reports, organizing the files that had saved Earth from disaster. A soft chime sounded. Secure message from Earth Command, the station AI announced. Liana opened the transmission. General Elias Munro appeared on the screen again, his uniform crisp, his expression unreadable. You did well, Commander, he said. We received word of the vote. Earth forces are standing down. She nodded, waiting for something more, maybe gratitude, maybe a question about the attempt on her life. But there was nothing. You kept Earth out of war, he continued. That's what mattered. Return home for debriefing. Prepare your report. The screen went dark. Cal looked up. That's it? That's all, Liana replied. No thanks, no apology, just an order, like always. She turned back to the window. Ships floated quietly outside, most of them leaving the station, some staying behind for the investigation into the Obsidian Accord. Cal walked up beside her. We stopped them this time. Liana nodded. For now, but this isn't over. Cal looked at her, confused. You really think they'll try again? I know they will, she said. They've already started. They want us scared, angry, divided, and they nearly won. She glanced at the data file still in Cal's hand. We have their trail now, but they'll cover it fast. Hide deeper. Next time they might not make the same mistakes. Cal thought for a moment. Then we don't wait for the next time. We go find them first. Liana raised an eyebrow. You volunteering for the mission? He smiled slightly. Someone has to keep you from getting blown up again. She let out a small laugh, the first one in days. You're not wrong. The door behind them opened as a council officer entered. Ambassador Cross, the High Speaker wishes to see you before departure. Liana turned to Cal. Get the files ready. Lock everything down. We'll store the backups in Earth and Nexus Prime both. This isn't just a council problem anymore. As Cal nodded and began his work, Liana left the room. The High Speaker's chamber was quiet, lit by soft white light. The leader sat still, hands folded. You spoke well yesterday, they said. You reminded this council what it was made for. I hope it remembers, Liana replied. The High Speaker studied her. Some will still distrust Earth. That won't change overnight. I understand, she said. I didn't come here to make them like us. I came to stop a war. The speaker nodded slowly. And you succeeded. For that you have our respect. They paused, then added, what will you do now? Liana looked out the tall window behind them. Go home, then come back. We have a shadow to chase. The High Speaker said nothing, but a faint smile touched the corner of their mouth. As Liana stepped out of the chamber, the station's lights dimmed to signal the next cycle. Outside, her ship waited, patched up, fueled and ready. Cal was already aboard, reviewing the encrypted logs. He looked up as she entered. Destination. She looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there the Obsidian Accord was watching, waiting. Set a course for the Arna Rift, she said. Let's find out what they're hiding. The engines hummed to life. The ship lifted from the dock, turned slowly, and vanished into the stars. The danger wasn't gone. The galaxy wasn't safe. But for now, there was peace. And Liana Cross was not done fighting for it.